Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Shay, and you are watching Shay with the Hobbies. The only reason I'm not looking up right in this exact moment is because I was like, hey, there's a stream on behind me, and I don't think I've turned the volume all the way down. And if I get to talking and I don't do it now, they're going to get to talking while we're talking. So, had to fix that for you guys. Hello. So good to see you. It's been a while. I have missed you guys. Am I getting back to it? I'm definitely trying. I'll be live today. I'm going to go live on Twitch after this for a little bit. I will be live tomorrow because we will be discussing book one of the Coin Slot Chronicles, Arcade and the Triple T Token. I started it on Sunday. It is the most adorably cute book ever. And I can't wait to discuss it with y'all. I love it. This little black boy and his sister and his parents and his friends and they're all hilarious. Like they're all just really funny. Like even the bullies. Like it's like a twin set of bullies and they're both trying to like bully him in the same way. It's kids are interesting, y'all. Kids are interesting. But tonight is the season finale of where's my the Edgar Allan Poe read along. We have been spending the months of April, May, June, and July going through this massive tome of a book. We have read poems, we read short stories, and we ended it on a novella.
Yes.
So, y'all, we have done a lot with Mr. Eddie P. And I'm not gonna lie, it's funny because in the novella Arthur Pym or whatever calls him Mr. P, and I just thought that was funny because I was like, I've been calling him Eddie P all season long. So
The whole read along.
and so before we dive into it, let my lovely co-host introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole. My channel name is Who Picked This Book. You can find me over there reading, talking, writing romance, and having just a great time. Really excited that, of course, that I did this. We read this massive tome, y'all. We did it. We did that. I'm proud of us. This is a feat. Hi, Pat. Yes, it's the finale.
I know, right? I like how I was typing a whole question, and because I went to unmute myself, everything I typed just went away.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's what we're doing. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm like, can I type really fast?
Yes, you can type really fast. I know
Okay.
this.
I'm like, what? Can I? And I'm like, what is all misspelled? Okay. Hey, little boy, what are you doing over there? But annoying me. Stop it. Stop it, sir.
And it's like the universe just knew that this was like our last live show discussion talking about the works of Edgar Allan Poe, because the drama and the history and what was going on during the time that Edgar Allan Poe.
Let's do stuff different. Usually we end with the history lesson. Let's start with the history lesson. We just shake it up a little bit. I want to learn. I'll be so intrigued. Like, here's the thing. They had some drama in the 1800s, honey. Like, they did.
They did.
See, we be doing stuff. They was scandalous.
Oh, yeah. So.
Thank you. I appreciate you, boy. Don't do that.
That's so funny.
Nah, he gonna make me have a come to Jesus meeting on the screen with y'all. Y'all, we don't want that for him.
We don't want that.
We don't want that. Thank you. I know, right? And this is crazy because technically this is the second one this year because the first one was the Inheritance trilogy.
I know.
So this is the second one. Mm-hmm. Y'all, it's a lot. It's a lot. Huge. Hi, Fiction and Flora. How are you? I love your avatar. Also, I feel like we're now following each other on Instagram, and I think that's just awesome. Do I post on Instagram a lot? Ask the people who follow me. No, but I'm gonna work on it. I am. All right, let's go through history lesson. I'm excited.
Do we want to start with the drama first, or do we want to start with some history first?
Am I the drama if I want the drama first?
I kind of,
No.
I kind of want to start with the drama too,
Yeah,
because
let's start with the drama girl. Let's say hi to Alicia. Hey,
hi,
love. How are
Alicia.
you? Last
We
night, you guys, Alicia and Nicole helped co-host with Aaron for their book club. I don't know. It wasn't the Who Picked This book club. Book club. It was a different
no,
book club, right?
yeah, it was Aaron's on Aaron's channel, Aaron's reading room. That's his
Aaron's Reading
channel,
Room Book
and
Club,
that's his book
and they
club. Yeah.
discussed the city we became. So, if you guys have not read that and want to, see a little roundtable discussion about it, definitely go check that video out. Support, support, support. But okay,
Thanks.
I'm
So
gonna mute while you give us the drama girl.
okay, because you know who has made an appearance back for the drama. It is our dear, dear friends, Francis Osgood and Rufus Griswold. They're back
Is it
causing the
Grizzy?
drama.
Grizzy done made it back, girl. I knew it. I was like, watch Grizzy got something to do with this. Grizzy got something to do with this.
Yes, yes, we're back with the whole, are they, aren't they? Everybody's married and writing scandalous love letters to each other and denying it and all that jazz. So, yeah, okay. So, the story that I was looking up to get some, get some stuff on, it was Hot Frog. And Hot Frog, it is a character. He has dwarfism, and it was taken from his homeland to be the king's gesture. And so one day, the king tells him to come to the court because he wants to be entertained. He and his friends want to be entertained. So he comes, and the king does a really bad thing. The king hits one of his friends, the jester's friends, and he doesn't like that. So he decides to take revenge on the king and all of his friends, makes them dress up as orangutans, and then sets them on fire. So this whole story was supposed to be a revenge story against a woman named Elizabeth F. Elliot, who was another poet during the time of Francis Osgood and Edgar Allan Poe. And so it was supposed to be a revenge story about her and her circle of friends. So what happened during the time is, we all know that Francis S. Osgood and Edgar Allan Poe were exchanging, allegedly, some scandalous love letters, and
Allegedly for me.
allegedly allegedly and so this whole thing is comes about. So one day they were all friends, and Elizabeth Elliot is in Edgar Allan Poe and his wife Virginia's home, and apparently Virginia was talking about a letter that she had found addressed to Edgar Allan Poe from Francis Osgood. And so yeah, she was saying, like, Virginia was kind of like, oh, my husband has this letter. Do you like, kind of like just venting, it's just like, is he, isn't he? Like, what does this mean? Blah, 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 blah. And so, let me see here. She basically advised, Osgood to ask for the return of her letters. So Elliot advised Francis Osgood to ask Edgar Allan Poe for her letters back, just to kind of like soothe some ruffled feathers, on his wife's behalf. And so Osgood asked some of her friends to ask Edgar Allan Poe. Like, she didn't even ask herself. She's like, hey, can you ask Edgar if I can have my letters back? So Edgar got really angry about her interference, Elizabeth Elliot. So she was, and he suggested to Elliot that she had better look after her own letters, meaning that she was sending letters as well. So allegedly, Elizabeth Elliot had been sending Edgar Allan Poe her own scandalous love affair letters, and asked Edgar Allan Poe to call on her at her home. And of course, everybody's married. Francis S. Osgood is married. Edgar Allan Poe is married. And also Elizabeth Elliot is married, even though she left her husband to move to, I think they're in Philadelphia at this point. So she's living on her own, even though, yes, she is married. So Poe gathered up all of Elizabeth Elliot's letters and then leaves them at her house. And then all of that, like, she brings her brother into the situation, saying that she was, being threatened by Edgar Allan Poe. So her brother didn't like that. And so her brother threatens to kill Edgar Allan Poe. And so Edgar requests a pistol to defend himself. And Francis S. Osgood's husband threatened to sue Elizabeth Elliot for all this slander and stuff that she caused, when she's just telling Francis Osgood to get the letters back, because she started this on behalf of Virginia. So Francis's husband said, "You better apologize or I'm going to sue you," like formally apologize. So she had retracted her statement, and she had written saying that the letter that she saw must have been a forgery written by Poe himself, because he was subject to acts of lunacy. So that was when the whole rumors that Edgar Allan Poe was a little crazy, that's how those rumors were spread. Because Elizabeth Elliot said that the letters that she saw at Virginia Poe's house were written by Edgar Allan Poe, and he was crazy. I was just like, wow. It kind of goes on.
So for me, it's the fact that one wannabe side chick was talking to the wife about another wannabe side chick. And then the dude was like, "If you mess with one of my side chicks, I'm going to expose that you a side chick." And husband was like, "My wife ain't a side chick, and if you don't stop saying she a side chick, I'm going to sue you." And then side chick number one was like, "I retract what I said. I feel like the only reason I said it was because Edgar Allan Poe is crazy and he wrote it." Like, what?
Exactly.
What? Are you serious?
Like, really, like, everything came out in the open like that. And so obviously none of that made the situation or the scandal any better. It just kind of made it worse.
Right.
And so Virginia, Poe's wife, she was
the 12-year-old.
The 12-year-old, exactly. She was deeply affected by the scandal. And obviously, I think at this point in time, I don't know exactly what year this was, but I don't know if she was sick yet, but her health was obviously not good. So it was said that she was deeply affected by the scandal, and she was receiving anonymous letters. This was allegedly from Elizabeth Elliot, throwing Poe's indiscretion in his wife's face. And so on her deathbed, Virginia stated a Mrs. E was her murderer. And years later, after Virginia had died, Poe said, "I scorned Mrs. E simply because she revolted me, and to this day never ceased her anonymous persecutions." So everybody believed that Elizabeth Elliot was behind the anonymous letters that Virginia had been receiving, and this just affected her so much that Virginia believed that this is what caused her to die. So Elizabeth Elliot was her murderer.
That's insane. Crazy. Also, shout out to Queen Boogaloo TV and Puff Crim, two affiliated variety streamers on Twitch that I love to support and watch. So if you are on Twitch and you like to watch people game like Dead by Daylight and Call of Duty Warzone and a whole bunch of other stuff that y'all know I do not play, check them both out. So here's the thing. I just feel like, why has no one made a soap opera television series about Edgar Allan Poe's life, or even just writers in the 1800s? Because these people are hilarious. Like, we think Twitter beef between writers now is interesting. This takes the cake. Like, y'all were actually like posting, like y'all were getting stuff printed in newspapers, like love letters to other writers, like getting published in the newspaper for y'all husbands and wives to see. Like, if that ain't bold,
Bold.
if that ain't bold, like, bruh. Also, then you gotta wonder, that's how you know y'all wasn't married to people that just wasn't wrapped too tight. Cause like my husband would never. The man that I married would never.
Would never.
Boy, play who face like that.
Honestly, I want a documentary just regarding this whole
Right?
situation.
I just really want, low key, I want to know what the letter said. I wanted to be like, is it Nan, Nanny, Boo, Boo, Po, like, somebody else? I want to know. I'm curious. And like, not for nothing, why did y'all give her the letters?
Right.
Like, it's not like mail service wasn't way different back in the day. Y'all could have easily just not shown it to her. I got so many questions.
I do too.
What's the history lesson?
I think with the scandal, I think Virginia didn't know she was talking to one of the side chicks. So that was kind of where that all kind of went down. She was like, oh.
Right, like, no, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I don't know what's going on. Do you think this is something I should be concerned about?
Exactly.
And like, not for nothing, I don't think her saying, hey, get your letters back is hurting his wife was so wrong.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so either. Now, mind you not admitting that you done sent her husband some letters is shady as hell. And I see why Edgar was like, hey, stay out of my business, ho. Like, I get it. Like, he was like, all right, yeah, you want to go there? That was literally how it come off. Like, girl, don't make me. What old girl say in Say the Last Dance? She said, I'll let all your shit bear. That's what he said. He was like, girl, I'll tell it.
Exactly.
That sounds like soap opera before soap opera. Come on now, for real. If you want to talk about someone, they should have had a soap opera written about them. Look at the background with Lord Byron. Oh goodness.
Oh yeah.
Young and Restless vibes. For real.
Young and the Restless.
The way everybody trying to be a main character too. Come on now. And like, I just want to know what Grizzy is doing in all of this. Besides laughing.
He's just sitting back laughing.
Right.
Sitting back laughing.
Cataloging.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. For sure. I was just like, the last couple of live shows, it hadn't been, full of scandal, but it was just like they knew it was our last one. So it was like, let's give us the scandal. Let's give us that.
So like, what? So was the story supposed to be like him getting? How is it revenge on her? Was she supposed to be the king?
Yeah, her and her circle of friends were supposed to be the king and his advisors that the gesture dressed up as orangutans and set on fire.
Okay.
So that was supposed to be like his revenge against her.
I mean, not for nothing, ADP, I would have never got that if I was her. I'd have been like, oh, this is just another one of his stupid stories. That's what I thought. Like, if I was her, I wouldn't have been like, this one's about me. You know what I mean? Like, I bet you think this song is I wouldn't have thought this story was about me.
I'd be like, nope.
I'd be like, what they got to do with me? Now, maybe one of them poems where you sound like you going to kill somebody, I'd be like, see, that one sounds like he was thinking murderous thoughts about me. But
Yep. That's true. That's true.
There's so many like killing women poems. I mean, like not killing women, but like women dying.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying he out here talking about murdering women in every poem, but there are quite a few dead ladies, is all I'm saying.
Yes, you're right. Yep. Okay, some history. Let's move on from the scandal sheets and go on to some history. But the first story, the cast of Amontillado, I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure.
I really want to know why they use so many words. Like, I was reading this week and I was like, yo, it's a lot of words to say it was cold outside.
That's true.
That's like in the novel, in the novella.
Oh gosh.
It was so long-winded.
Oh
my gosh.
Yes.
So I was thinking about that with these names.
Yeah.
What?
Amontillado. I think that's how you say it. I know it's a port. So it's a drink. But so this is also a revenge story about a man called Monstresser invites another man over to sample some of this wine. Apparently, he had did something to him so egregious, he just had to get revenge on this man. So Montresor lures him into his family catacombs and saying like, "Oh, I have this cask of wine, like come and like try it," but really leads him into the catacombs to trap him there. So at the end, it was stated that it had been around 50 years since the main character had looked into the catacombs, and the man's body was still down there. So the inspiration for this story was a local urban legend that Poe heard when he was a private stationed at Fort Independence. There was a story of a Lieutenant Massey that was killed by another lieutenant, Lieutenant Drand, in a sword duel. And so that wasn't, apparently that wasn't, it technically wasn't illegal, but it was frowned upon, you know, duels. And so when the other soldiers found out, they got this Lieutenant Drand drunk and lured him into the dungeon and changed him to a wall and left him there. So that was a whole urban legend surrounding that. Truth is, Lieutenant Drand was not chained to a wall and left to die. He was actually court-martialed and dishonorably discharged. But that was kind of like a story that was going around the fort at the time. So he just kind of got some inspiration for that story based on that. And the next story, The Domain of Arnheim. This was kind of just like prose. This was kind of like just poetry about Poe is like reflecting on the majesty and the dignity of poetic sentiment, and it's like he's like creating this landscape and just talking about that and kind of describing that. But in 1962, this artist, Rene Magritte, I think that's how you say it, he actually painted the landscape that Poe described in his work. And I actually have the link, I believe. I don't think yes, I do. And I will put it in the comments so y'all can see it if you want. I thought that was pretty cool about how someone had like read The Domain of Arnheim and made a painting about it. I thought that was pretty cool. So let me get the link and I can put it in the comments.
I think that's super cool. Also, Fiction in Florida said amontillado. So it's Spanish. Amontillado.
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 Thank you so much.
Cask of Amontillado. We appreciate you doing the work out here.
Thank you.
You didn't have to do that, but you did, and we are so very thankful.
It was really rough for me. You saw me struggling.
I don't think I said a proper hey, hello, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. That is old school writing style. Let's describe everything in all the detail. Oh, for sure. And it's like use big words, but for what? And so like the thought also to me goes back to like why, like when there were conversations about like, oh, what Black people could and couldn't understand. Is it because y'all were being like, I want to say the word I want to use is verbose in your language, but for like no reason?
Yeah.
I want to say that's the word I want to use, but like seriously. Because I was reading one sentence and I was like, yo, did he just say he walked through the door, but in like 20 different words?
Yes.
Like, what was the purpose of that? It just felt really heavy handed. And it was interesting because like it would definitely be frowned upon writing today.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
It definitely wouldn't be the type of writing that would be praised like in this right. Like you would have to be writing in a style from the past for it to be given a pass because of just how wordy and ridiculous it was. So I do think that was interesting because again, like this is probably the oldest thing I've read.
Mm-hmm.
Like for real, it's probably the oldest thing I've read. So I found that really interesting.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like that's how they spoke back then too. Could you imagine like having these long-winded conversations? I mean, it was just the norm back then, but just thinking about it now, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right? Like, wouldn't you like I was about to say something, but knowing you and knowing us, like the way that we would have reacted to what I was about to say.
Oh my God, say it.
Like, wouldn't your jaws hurt? Like, I'm just saying, like, wouldn't they? Wouldn't you just be tired? I'm just saying. Like, sometimes you don't want to just sit there and just not say nothing, y'all. It's a lot.
Yes.
Right, right, right. Okay,
uh,
so
I did put the link if anybody wants to look at.
okay. Oh, actually, I could pull it up so like I could share the screen. Huh?
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I could do that. Hold on. Can you put it in the private chat? Because it's not
Yes.
gonna let me copy and paste it while it's right
Yes,
there.
yes, I can. Hold on one second. Let me pull it up.
Oh no, Fiction Flora says I'm currently reading two. I ain't even gonna try to say that. You know, he got that. Mr. D's novels. And bruh, there are 3-page paragraphs. Oh wow. So many.
Dostoevsky. Yes.
How you say it?
Dostoevsky.
Dostoevsky, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sound.
Crime and Punishment. Yeah, that was a horrible book.
He said, I wish I would. I think only the upper class spoke that way, which is why nobody could connect with them. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe that's why they always took naps after calling on people back there. I bet, right? Like, that's why they had fainting couches and whatnot. Like,
and these poor women, like, I've come up with the attack of the vapors. No, they didn't. They just wanted to get out of there.
Right. Because this is ridiculous. Okay. Open the link and then let me share it. And I don't want to see your ads. I want to see your ads. Stop seeing this ad. Not interested. Okay.
I'm not interested in that.
Right. Why don't you want to see this ad? I don't want, because I'm not interested. Why are you so nosy?
There it is. Arnheim is actually a German word meaning home of the eagle, so that just makes sense how there's an eagle there.
Okay, so my dumb self thought that was a raven.
It would make sense how that would be a raven for Edgar Allan Poe.
Right, that's what I thought it was. But it looks like there's like a little crescent moon and stuff. It's cool.
Some eggs. Yeah, so yeah, that is the painting inspired by The Domain of Arnheim by Edgar Allan Poe.
Nice.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It must have been easy being an editor back in the day. Just keep all the overlong sentences in right. Like,
oh yeah, they're just like, also, Edgar Allan Poe wrote it
as an editor back then, because bruh, like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So now that we've finished the whole book, which poem or story was your favorite, or do you have a favorite? Or
yeah, I think it still remains The Raven. I think that's still my favorite. Yeah, I mean, it was my favorite at the start of this before reading everything, and it still remains. It's just something about it. It's chilling. It's like the paranormal aspect. It's, you know, just the quintessential horror short story, you know.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that, because like story wise, Black Cat, Mask of Red Death still like our top stories. But because the poetry I hadn't really dug as deep in, what is it? Let me look. I'll know once I see the name, or like get to line. It's like House or something. City in the Sea. It's either City in the Sea or is it the Haunted Palace?
It's the Haunted Palace, where it just kind of falls into the water.
Yes, where it just falls into the water.
That was really good too.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. I really like that. I really like that. And not even gonna lie, the poem I submitted, did I submit this one? That I submitted this month for a contest, a submission contest on YouTube, was definitely heavily inspired by reading so much Edgar Allan Poe the past few months. Like, it's a dark poem, but it's a really beautiful poem, and it's not like dark in the end, but it is a dark poem. And I remember just the way that I felt reading the things we've read in the last 4 months, and that was one of the poems that just like, it struck me. Really good writing. So But yeah,
Yes.
but story wise, I mean, and not like the other stories that we read weren't still really good. It's just
Yeah.
I don't
Those
know.
there's
I think
just certain ones that stick with you. Yeah.
right, right. And the black cat is just so daggum creepy.
It is. It
It's
is.
just so daggum creepy. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Okay, what do
Mm-hmm.
we got? Harriet wise. Ooh, Raven Supremacy, best one, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is the whole football team, right?
Yeah.
Can I spell words? Almost. Oh,
Can
surprise! It has
I
two R's. There we go. Okay, what's the most surprising thing about the read along?
I think learning a different side to Edgar Allan Poe. Like
Right.
not just like the doom and gloom and death and spookiness. Like there was actually, I was surprised by how many poems and short stories there were about just love and beauty and God. And I just thought that was actually very surprising because you learn a whole different side to Edgar Allan Poe just reading The Raven or The Black Cat. You know, you just think, oh, like he's just the horror genre, you know, but he was definitely multifaceted for sure.
I totally agree. For me was honestly the history and the like scandal behind everything. Like I would not have guessed that there was so much drama in the 1800s. Like I would think that like y'all can't call people. There is no internet. Like there's not like why like what were y'all going through to do all that? And it's like nah, like there was a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so to see like how much was going on in a very short window of time, like this wasn't going on for a very long time. Like this man's life wasn't long. His
Right. Oh
writing
yeah.
career wasn't long, and so it just was really interesting that for me. And I think it was super surprising because um I think it so not in the fact that you forget, because obviously we're both writers, so we don't forget that writers are human. But
Mm-hmm.
like this is the most human I've ever known of a writer. And it's
Yeah.
probably because we know so much about his life now
Now.
because of
Yeah.
the past, right? Like I'm not gonna know this much about any writer that I'm currently reading,
Yeah.
really, right?
That's
Like,
true. Mm-hmm.
and so it's like, yo, this man,
Yeah. He did a
I
he did
wouldn't,
a he did a lot of living in 40 years and
right? And I
not a
wouldn't
lot of it
necessarily,
good, but
right? I wouldn't necessarily call him a good person either.
no, I wouldn't. Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I wouldn't think like I would be like, oh, that girl Poe's a good person. I'd be like, I mean, he's a person,
Yeah, he's a person with flaws and unfortunately
right?
with
And
the
like a
amount
lot
of
more in the ways that you just wouldn't even think. So it definitely
yeah.
just it definitely reminded me one that writers are human and to not and you know in the writerly conversation me and Britt had earlier premiered on her channel. If you didn't go see it, you should definitely go watch the replay. It is long, so you know, speed it up a little bit, put on some popcorn, maybe do your dishes, vacuum your floor, you know, be productive while you're watching it. um we talked about how dadgummit, I lost it doing a little hey, let me remind y'all, give me a second. What was I gonna say? Oh, that writers are human and like you forget that like you have to give people grace,
Yeah,
right? And you have to also understand that like this is why you can't idolize writers because
that's
again,
true.
you only know a fraction of them from what they read, from what they wrote, right? Like that's not at all the whole sum of a person.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Yep.
can write very beautiful, amazing things and be very horrible and hateful in their hearts. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not that I think he was like super hateful or anything like that, but just it just was a reminder of how regular people are.
Yeah.
Like, and in the time, if we're being honest, everybody around him thought he was regular. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't like he was like getting a whole bunch of fame or anything while he was alive,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We've put him in that position by making him a classics author, right? Like we've moved him to like idolization status
Yeah.
because he wrote some good stories.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the fact that we did put him on, it's like this is kind of like the kind of meeting ground between don't put people on a pedestal and don't meet your heroes kind of thing, because there's so much that we know about him just because he, was famous, and we did put him up there. And the fact that his whole life, like all this scandal stuff, like his whole life is just out there for you to learn about and read. And if he was just a regular person, none of this would have came out, quote unquote regular person, but the fact that, we have made him famous just because he wrote some pretty amazing things, and he did the standard. He was basically the standard and the creator of this specific genre. So it is kind of like, ooh.
Right. It totally is. It totally is. Okay, so we got 2 more questions and we're done. What are your thoughts on classics after this quarter of reading?
I think my thoughts on classics are remaining the same, because classics, we've already said they're very long-winded. Brevity is not their strong suit. They're very, very kind of almost flowery writing where they have to describe and discuss, and, you have to get the exact shade of purple on the drapes correct, when people are writing about certain things. And it's almost can be very dry with the language that was used back then. But then you can get these masterpieces that, are just, even though they're kind of written so differently from the way we read things now and the way we talk, you can still retain that and still feel a certain way. So I still believe that, classics can sometimes be overrated. But there are some that are, like that they are masterpieces, and there's a reason why Edgar Allan Poe is taught in school, because he is the master of his genre, for sure.
I totally agree. I definitely feel like classics are overrated, full stop. I don't think that something being overrated doesn't mean that it still shouldn't be explored. I think that
absolutely.
classics are also a peek into the past, and I'm definitely one of those people that believe that if you don't know your past, you're doomed to repeat it. And so I think knowing the classics and knowing how something can be considered a classic and the pinnacle of something, and still realizing how it others and does not include majority of people in this country, right? Because like if we were to put it together, all the minorities put together are bigger than the majority in this country. So you're ignoring everything else, right? Like how that is dangerous and what the implications of that is. And I definitely think that I do think that I am a better thriller, horror writer and reader from doing this read along. There are just some things mechanically that reading his work, I think, teaches you or gives you the ability to consider that you wouldn't have considered otherwise. So I definitely think if anyone is watching this or now or on the replay that is in the thriller horror, I definitely think giving Edgar Allan Poe a good read. Right now, I'm not saying you have to read the 1,000+ pages we read. If you want to, sure. I wouldn't say I did not have a horrible time at all in this time. Super enjoyable. Definitely think it was more enjoyable because I had the lovely Nicole to help me go through it, because I don't know if I would have finished it all by myself.
It's a lot.
Right, it's a lot. I do think that you should read it, because I think that if anything, at the very least, it'll spur off ideas. Because I can't tell you how many times I wrote 100 and something words after we got off a stream here, or after I got through reading a section of the work. So again, I'm with you. Like my thoughts didn't completely change. Other than I will say that before I probably was like F the classics a little bit. And so now I'm not like F the classics. I'm like, the classics are overrated, but overrated doesn't mean they don't still bear needing to be read, needing to have some attention paid to them. So,
or just have like also that you can learn from them.
Right. Definitely learn from them. I definitely agree with this. It depends on the author work for me when it comes to classics. Right. Because that's the other thing, is there's things that I don't consider classics that other people do. right?
Yeah.
Like I would consider, so to me, I wouldn't consider Agatha Christie a classic, but I would consider her a like mother of a genre for
Hmm.
me. And so for me, like she wouldn't be a classic, so I wouldn't feel no type of way about not reading her. But do think that would I definitely would watch movies based off things that she read or
Hmm.
she wrote to get
Yeah.
like an idea of her storytelling and what that's like. But would I actually like dive in and read? Probably never not, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest. Like
Yeah.
I barely had a desire to before we found out the information, and it kind of went out the window when we did.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I'll say classics only work for me if they're gothic horror. And I agree. I agree. I really kind of agree. 100 words. So you just described the living room in classic style, right?
Yeah.
Right.
For me, like I mean, there are certain classics that I love. For example, some short stories and poems by Edgar Allan Poe, or also Pride and Prejudice and Persuasion by Jane Austen. I will like read and love those probably until I die. But there are other things like like Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. That's I'm just like, why is this a thing? Like, why did I have to read this? I remember it was so difficult to sludge through reading
Right.
that in high school. Just like, why?
Man, for me, it was in college when they made everyone who took business law read Babbitt. Why?
Oh, wow.
We had to read Babbitt, and then like, it had nothing to do with the law. Obviously, it had nothing to do with what we were studying. And you had to read it, and you had to score higher than a 70 because if you just guessed and didn't read, you were very likely to score a 70. And so that was their way that if you score less than a 70, you just automatically failed
Oh, wow. Yeah.
because it was like you could have just not read it. Because
Hmm.
guess how many people didn't read it? I didn't. First time I definitely got like 60, and so I failed it. And the second time I still didn't read it, but I got a 90 that time. So
Oh,
I
nice.
wasn't gonna read that book. I was not gonna read that book, y'all. It was
I will.
boring. I fell asleep twice. I was like,
Oh,
it's a
wow.
no for me. I've never have I fallen asleep from reading a book because I was so bored. Like it's usually because I couldn't put it down and I
Yeah.
fell asleep because my eyes were tired. And not I was like bored to death. And I didn't, y'all, I don't think I even made it past chapter 3. Let me be perfectly honest. Don't even think I ever got that far in the book.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible.
Awful, y'all. Awful.
Ugh.
Jane Austen is one of the mothers of romance. See, right.
Yeah.
So like things
Yeah.
that make sense. Right. Like so for me, like I don't know. How old is Auntie Bev? How old is like her first book?
Oh, let me look that up. Uh, let's see. First, I would say like Beverly Jenkins. A lot of her books should be considered classics because they are just
Right, and that's what that was my thing. So like for me, it would be like when I not if because I know eventually I'm gonna have to because obviously friendships and stuff. When I decide that I'm gonna actually like do a dive into romance and whatnot, like I know that there's gonna be like a tribute to her in what she's brought to the genre and to the capabilities and possibilities for Black writers in that
oh,
genre.
absolutely. Her first book was Night Song, and it was published in 1994.
Okay. Okay, so definitely not nearly as old as I thought at all. So for sure, like not necessarily classics territory, but still in a mother of category, which still, again holds weight.
Absolutely, she's definitely a trailblazer. She because there was very few authors writing what she was writing in the time that she was, when she
Right.
first started out, and the fact that it's still prevalent today. And even though she writes mostly historical romances, American historical romances, but also like I learned more from reading about history, American history, reading Beverly Jenkins than I did like when I was actually in school. And if that's
We're
like
not even talk about how sad that is about for her.
exactly.
Like that's a travesty, is the truth. Is
Yeah.
the travesty for sure.
And the first book that I read by her was Indigo, and it remains to be my favorite. I mean, a lot of like every book that I read by her is 5 stars, but that book is just phenomenal. So if you're starting your Beverly Jenkins journey, I would start with Indigo. But
Indigo. Okay. 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 Well, it says my most hated book is a classic. Robinson Crusoe can burn. What is that? Is that Treasure Island?
Robinson Crusoe. Oops, dang, drop stuff. Is it Treasure Island?
Is it Treasure Island? I can't
No,
remember.
I think.
I feel like, why do I feel like the cover has a boat on it?
No, Treasure Island was written by Robert Louis Stevenson. Robinson Crusoe is actually, I think, the name of the book.
Oh, okay.
Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe.
Yep, no, not at all what I was thinking. See, glad we looked it up because definitely I was in the wrong thing completely.
Yeah.
Jules, it's no worries. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
I just
It's
want to
not
show
the
you
same as
this
Treasure Island.
cover.
Yeah, no, I realized when she said it wasn't the same thing. I had something pictured different in my head. Beverly Jenkins Indigo. That's a cute cover.
This is the original cover. I mean, I have the 25th anniversary edition, and then I have the edition that looks like this.
Not the same thing as my very first DNF, The Great Boredom. I mean, Expectations.
The Great Boredom. That's so funny. But yeah, it's just a beautiful cover.
Yeah, nice. What's 1811 for? What I missed that for?
I don't know.
Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. All right. And last question. Oh, no, that wasn't supposed to be a ticker. That was supposed to be like a regular thingy. Save. Now, there we go. Okay. If there was a classics author you wanted to get into but hadn't yet, who would it be?
Oh.
Okay, so it does have something to do with a boat. Okay. I was like, why do I picture a boat? Okay. All right.
But a guy surviving a shipwreck.
Great. Okay. I was like, there's a boat somewhere.
It's somewhere. It's got to be somewhere. Oh gosh, what a classic author that you've been wanting to get into but hadn't yet. Who would it be? I don't know why the first one that comes to my head is Jules Verne. Like maybe because we reading like Edgar Allan Poe and getting into like who he inspired to write their books. Like maybe that's why I'm thinking Jules Verne. But can't think of anything else.
So I don't have an author, but I do think that I want to do a deeper dive into older short stories.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've learned so much. I feel like I've learned so much in the past few months, and I feel like the things that I have written, whether they be poetry or short stories, since we've done this, have been really, really good. Like I feel like they've been fire, and almost no lie fire on the first draft, if I'm being real honest. So I'm like, let's continue down like this kind of like rabbit hole of short stories. And so like I feel like I have a couple of books like these with like collections of short stories in my office. So I'm gonna try to go in there. Now I do know I have a Lovecraft one, which was before I like really knew anything about Lovecraft. I just liked the cover and I knew it was like horror stories. So I doubt it'll be that one. Because again, it's like Agatha Christie. Like, I really just don't care. Like I can read about things that spur off of from this thing that you created and be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I definitely going into whatever I begin to read next and work on next writerly wise, I'm open to reading more classics than I was before we started this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally more open.
Yep. Me too.
Okay, the Robinson Crusoe is a man stranded on an island, while Treasure Island is a boy who gets involved with pirates. Both the islands, pirates. No pirates, only cannibals and noble savage. Let's sigh. Oh gosh. And Radcliffe, she wrote the first Gothic novel. She was inspiration to Jane Austen. Oh god. Okay, she wrote The Mysteries of Udolpho. Or of Anne Dafoe. Or you're saying Anne Radcliffe. Got you. Why does that sound familiar? It probably sounds familiar because I heard it in a Frasier episode. Is the truth. Is the truth.
You just learn all kinds of things from Frasier.
I do, because they were uppity in Frasier. They're super duper uppity. They be reading everything. All right. So, any thoughts on what we read or this latest thing or anything you want to give? We're at like 50 minutes. How you feel? I
Yeah.
feel like I feel good. I
I feel,
like it.
yeah, I feel like I'm so excited. I'm happy that we did this. This was amazing. Not just reading all the stuff, but learning all the stuff and just experiencing it with the fellow author as well, writer. And I love that because like you write short stories. So I felt like this was just so like beneficial for you. And I love that. And I just can't wait to read more of what you've written.
Man, cause like no lie, it's definitely helped with the sorority short story that
Yeah.
I've been working on, and
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, hey, y'all know me. I want to finish a novel, I really do, and I'm just like, maybe novels aren't for you right now. Maybe you just need to keep writing these short stories for now, and so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna press it. I'm not gonna press it. I'm gonna just write what comes to me, and we're gonna see what happens.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I love that.
Hey, Sin, it's so good to see you, love. I'm gonna go live on Twitch here in a little bit. So, like, there's that. So,
Do it.
like, we'll play some words on stream, and I'm probably gonna listen to an audiobook. I don't know if y'all gonna be able to hear, but I got a couple audiobooks I need to finish. So, there's that. But if you guys look in the description box below, there is a link to an Amazon Prime video that if you have Amazon Prime, you'll be fine to watch it with us next week. Or if you don't, you have time to like rent/buy it, so you can watch it with us next week. But it is a collection of 5 of Edgar Allan Poe's scariest stories brought together by 5 filmmakers to make a movie. And we're like, hey, let's do this to end this out with the bang. It'll be on my Twitch channel. So just stay around for that. Not tonight, but like next Tuesday.
Next
Same
Tuesday.
time, same FYI. All right. Well, Nicole's in the description box below. We will see y'all next week. Y'all have a great, fantastic rest of your evening. Bye.